Well, welcome everybody to the Fasting Transformation Summit, where we are uncovering the most ancient, inexpensive, and powerful healing strategy known to mankind, fasting. I'm your host, Dr. David Jockers, and I'm really excited to bring today's guest, Sam Astor. She is a true fasting enthusiast. She lives it, breathes it, and you guys are going to see based on this interview. We're going to talk about fasting and self-love. And so Sam is an Australian-based health coach, although now she lives in Canada. And she runs an online community at fwth.com, which is dedicated to the art of fasting. And she runs that with her brother, Mitch. And both of them, they started the website and community as a way to help people to live life with passion and purpose, to enjoy electrical energy-building food, and most importantly, to help gain self-love and acceptance. They've hosted a few of their own fasting summits and have created a 28-day fasting course to help build awareness and support people with the use of fasting on their healing journey. And so, Sam, really excited to have you on with us today. And if you can share with the listeners your story and how you really got started with fasting.
Thank you. And I'm super excited to be here as well. Great question. So my journey started like so long ago now. And if I think back to who I was before, or my past life, as I like to call it, I was someone who was constantly searching for the next best thing, the next best diet, the next 6-week challenge that I would never finish, all of the things. And I was constantly binge eating and waiting for Monday and, listening to everybody else tell me what I needed to do for my body, and had such a problem with being able to actually listen to myself. And so I was on this journey for years, and I thought I was actually pretty healthy. Like, I was in the health and fitness industry, but was bound by all the conditions and beliefs that had put on me and the lifestyle that I was brought up in. So I remember just changing my life, like shifting everything. I moved cities, I moved jobs, I ended a long-term relationship, absolutely everything. And I remember thinking, I have no idea who it is that I am. I have no idea what I'm doing in this world or what my purpose is. And on top of that, I can't stop binge eating. I can't stop drowning my emotions with food. I can't stop feeling crap about my body, and also feeling bloated and having hormonal imbalances and all of the things that were coming with like just not taking care of myself. And I woke up one day and I thought, something needs to change. And I'd never felt this before. Like, I'd always woke up and be like, I'm going to start on Monday a new diet. But at this point, I had never felt this before. It was so like drawing the line in the sand. That's it. Like, there's no going back. There's only going forward. Something needs to change. And I'd learned about fasting previously, and it was in the back of my head, but not something I'd ever committed to or ever had felt that was the right time, I guess. And it came to the forefront, and I was like, I'm going to fast. And so the next day I went into an extended fast. And from that point on, it literally changed my life. Like, it was the catalyst for change that propelled me into mindfulness, into a self-love journey, into listening to my body and building a better relationship with food and my body, and allowing me to explore the depths of fasting and what that led to. And essentially, becoming immersed in that, because I was taking myself to a new version, constantly upgrading. It was like personal development on steroids, and fasting was the catalyst for change in my life. So that's where my journey started.
Yeah, that's powerful. I've always been a big believer in just the idea that pain is really our greatest teacher in life, and that it's kind of a setup, and ultimately our biggest trials are a setup for our true testimony, right? And what we get to bring to this planet and to the people around us. And so you're an example of that. And so when it comes to food addictions, I know for myself, it's really easy to get hooked on just eating every few hours if I allow myself to. It's like eating feels good. I get this dopamine release, this natural neurotransmitter release that makes me feel great. Why are people so addicted to food in general?
That's a really good question. And, I think of this as someone who is in a state of overwhelm or stress and going in that rat race, like just going and doing, you wake up and you do your thing. You come home and you put the TV on, you on your phone, you're on social media, you're on all of these things. And essentially what they're doing is numbing the pain or numbing the emotions that someone's not willing to feel. And I think it's the same as food. I think food right now is used as a suppressant. And as soon as we eat, we suppress whatever it is that we're holding on to. And right now, where I think in humanity, I think it's starting to, I think people are starting to break free of this, but I think right now we're avoiding what it is that we truly need to feel. And that's emotion, and that's looking in the mirror and seeing us for who we truly are. And I think people aren't ready to go there, aren't ready to be vulnerable and open themselves up. And so they're suppressing themselves with food. And I think that's where addiction is coming into it. And I think really the work needs to be done from the inside out. And I think that will be a way in which people can start to evolve and start to overcome these things. And fasting is an incredible vehicle to do that, because when you're fasting, you're abstaining from food. And so you're allowing the emotions to come to the surface, the trauma, the things that you've buried inside your body. We bury emotions in the form of fat that stores, or in the form of disease in our body. And as soon as if we can actually release that and deal with that and not constantly suppress it, then I look at it as like a beach ball, right? Like have you ever tried to put a beach ball underwater? Like you can hold it down for a certain amount of time until it goes boom to the surface and explodes. And it's like what we're doing to ourselves. We're suppressing with food, but there comes a time where if we're not going to allow it open naturally and to go through that natural course, then it's going to explode somewhere in our body. It's going to explode in the form, it might be a little nudge in the form of a cold and flu, but if we suppress that as well, then it might explode into something more deeper and more serious, right? And so I think that's where food addiction essentially is coming from. It's a suppressant. The more that we can allow it to come up through fasting naturally, then I think that's where the true healing lies.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, we have mental and emotional pain, and it's very easy to cover it up with things from the outside in rather than going deep on the inside. And food is one of the more accepted ways to cover it up, right? It's much more accepted than, a lot of other addictions that people have. And it's easy to just get hooked on consuming, small meals, grazing throughout the day, and just constantly getting that dopamine hit. So I'm right there with you. And so when we fast, obviously there's incredible mental and emotional benefits to just restricting food for periods of time. And can you go into more detail on that?
Yes, absolutely. And this is something that I experienced like straight away when I started fasting, was the energy levels and the clarity and focus that I experienced. When you think of fasting, you think, how can you do that and work? Or how can you do that and still continue your life? Because you would just be like not be able to move. But it's actually interesting, the opposite occurs. So you have so much energy and so much focus, and depending on what fasting you're doing, it's like, I didn't know how efficient I could be in that time frame of not putting food in my body. I was like super energetic, super focused, had so much inspiration. And I know, you speak about how ketosis is something that occurs when fasting, and the ketone levels can help brain health, which essentially in fasting, that's where you can get that feeling of inspiration, of creativity, of finding your purpose and passion and wanting to go down that path. And so it will really help to clear your mind to be able to think in that way. Also emotionally, it helps you to be able to let go of all the noise, let go of all the overwhelm, and to sit in stillness with yourself, to be with yourself. And I think once you get to that place of allowing and surrendering, then we can allow the emotion to come through. We can allow whatever it's teaching us to come through and to let go of. Some people call it, you released baggage or you released body fat. And that's essentially because you released whatever emotion you were holding on to, and letting go of that frees you. And that's a huge relief for a lot of people. So I think that's also an incredible benefit that will come in the mental and the emotional gains of fasting.
Yeah, that's so good. And from a ketosis perspective, when we fast, our body still needs fuel. So it goes in, starts to break down our own stored body fat, creates these ketones, and they help reduce the neuroinflammasome. So inflammation in the brain helps stimulate brain-derived neurotrophic growth factor, which just makes us feel alive and mentally alert, and it helps increase purpose and inspiration like you've talked about. And so, fasting is certainly free. It's certainly something that really anybody can start doing immediately, but it's not exactly easy, especially when you first get started. So how do you help people overcome the mental and emotional challenges that come with the beginning of a fast?
Yes, definitely not easy. And it's really good to note because you do need support, and you need, I like to create a bit of a toolbox for people. And so the analogy I like to use is like a rainbow. So yes, I know, a rainbow. You look at the end of a rainbow and you've got a pot of gold, right? So we all kind of want to get to this pot of gold, but we need to start at the start and get through all of the different weathers to get to that pot of gold. So look at that at your fasting journey. So to start, you need to find your reason as to why you're doing it and get really clear and connected to that. And then you need to build your toolbox to get you through. So you're going to detox. It's a healing crisis that goes on, and that's what can make you feel yuck. It can make it feel challenging. It can make you feel like you want to give up, like, oh no, this isn't for me. When that comes up, it's a healing crisis. We all go through it. You just need to be equipped to know what to do in that scenario. So peppermint oil is like my go-to. I'm not even fasting and I have it close by, but you can use things like this that can help to be able to make the headaches go away or make you feel better, give you a boost of energy when you're feeling low. Making sure your 4 elimination channels are working. So that's defecation, urination, perspiration, and what's the other one? Respiration. So doing breathing exercises, making sure your colon is clean or getting colonics and enemas, making sure you're drinking enough water to stay hydrated, and making sure that you're getting into a sauna or doing something to make you sweat. These things are going to help you feel better once you've gotten through that process. Plus, you're going to be releasing a lot of toxins in your body, and you don't want them to get stuck. You don't want to do it unsafe way. So making sure they're flowing out. And then having that mindfulness practice. Like you speak to a lot of high performance people or successful people. They all talk about having a morning routine or a mindfulness practice. And it's the same with fasting. Can you journal what you're going through? What are you grateful for? What kind of morning routine have you set up yourself to put yourself in that state of success and dealing with it? And I think having these components is really important when it comes to fasting and getting to that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And then of course your community, like it can be a lonely place. Like sometimes you're the odd one out, you're the weird one for doing fasting, but you just need to find your tribe, because there's loads of us weird ones out there that are doing this, and we're coming together and we're sharing and helping and encouraging. And you just need to find that community, because then once you're there, it doesn't matter what all those people say that are going to try and turn you off course. It's a good little lesson. It's a good little test, because sometimes it's also the ones that are closest to us, because they don't want to see you change and they hold on to who you are. Or what I found is that sometimes they're not ready in their own journey to go through this, and you're intimidating them because they can see what you're doing for your health. So support yourself and make it easier on you by finding a like-minded community that can help you on that journey, and then try to not talk about it anywhere else. Like sometimes you just need to go about your journey in a silent way and just talk to the ones who really get it and can really support you.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, community is so important, because when you try to fast all by yourself, especially if you're making food for your family and whatnot, you can feel all alone. It's really easy to feel isolated. And so getting a good community where you can express yourself and just feel like you're not doing it alone, I think is absolutely vital. It's priceless. And so what would you say to somebody who's just getting started with fasting? What are the most important things they need to know?
The most important thing, without fail, that I talk about with everyone is, why are you doing this? Why? Because if you have a strong enough why, then it doesn't matter what people say to you. It doesn't matter if you have a family event or a dinner party or someone's waving chocolate cake in front of your face. You are so ingrained. And people say this to me all the time. They're like, Sam, you have such amazing willpower. It's not willpower. It's that drawing the line in the sand, being in tears, that it's like something needs to change, because I want purpose. I want to feel good. I want to, you're so connected with your reason as to why you're doing this. and it's making you cry and it's making you so emotionally triggered, like you have that emotional connection, find that why and write it down and get so clear on it. Because then it does not matter what's going on in your life. You will find a way to make it happen. And Neil Martin, I remember speaking with him in the Fasting Summit, and he said, you need, if you haven't cried about why you're doing this, then keep going, keep writing, because you need to find that emotional connection. And the whole process, no matter the healing crisis, no matter the tough emotions that are coming through, it'll be so much easier because you have that reason as to why you're doing it and not because someone else told you to do this. So find your reason why. The second one I would say is find your community, whether that's an online community, a tribe or a group, whether that's a direct online coach or a one-on-one coach, whatever it is, find your community that's going to support you. And then the number 3 is educate yourself with things like this. The best thing that I can do on fasting is at least spend 1 hour a day educating myself on fasting, because then that just inspires you. It motivates you. You're like, oh my gosh, my body's going through this, and you're understanding what's going on. And it just drives you to keep going because you can see the process and see what's actually healing and how this miracle of a body is working. So educate yourself. And this is the perfect platform in order to do that.
Yeah, it's so good. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, just got to make sure the more that you're educated on it, the more it gives you that gusto to say, wow, I'm really inspired. I'm getting the autophagy benefits right now. I'm breaking through these emotional barriers, and it just keeps you really, really engaged with it. And so what would you say to somebody that's out there that's interested in fasting, but maybe they've struggled in the past with an eating disorder, or perhaps they're struggling with an eating disorder right now? What would you say to them?
It's a really important point. And I'm actually working with a client right now that's going through that process. And it's funny because we can have that need to want to fast. But right now, the best thing for that person is to let go of that need to fast. And let's look at what really matters. And that's building up you. It's building up that internal self-love, that relationship with your body, that relationship with food. And it's incredible to watch her journey when we've let go of that and focused on this of that and the impact that it's having on her and her journey and what she's feeling and how she's changing and how she's feeling things about herself she's never felt before or in a long time. And I think that's more important at this stage for someone who is going through something like that. And I think check in with your medical practitioner or some support system before you make a decision. If you have suffered in the past or if you're suffering right now from an eating disorder, please make sure you do that, but then get the support. The fasting can wait. I think the most important thing is to let's look within at what's really going on and let's build you up, because it can dramatically change your life in the most positive ways if you look at the thing that's mattering most.
Yeah, that's great. And so how do you implement fasting at this stage in your life? Do you have it scheduled in, or are you doing it more intuitively, or kind of a combination of both?
Yeah, interesting, because I've been on such a journey with fasting, and I believe definitely that once you embody something, then you can really then start to teach it and start to experience it. So I've loved immersing myself with fasting and all of the different types straight away. And I went pretty deep, pretty quick with fasting. So now I've kind of taken a step back and I've built such an intuitive relationship with myself that I now know, okay, cool, I'm ready to fast. So I think daily right now, I do a time restricted feeding routine where I intuitively just need to eat between a 6 and 8 hour window, which is typically between 10, 11 a.m. to about 6 p.m. in the day is like my optimal. And then at the moment, I probably do extended fasts, maybe 3 times a year, anywhere between 5 and 14 day fast, depending on what I need and where I am. And yeah, I've just built enough of a relationship now to know when my body needs it. If I feel like some sickness or low energy or something is coming on, I know I just need to do a quick little reboot and fast for 3 days and, reboot the system and come back on. So I think it's such an amazing vehicle for me now to be able to just go in and out when I feel the time is right. And also what I've learned on this journey is that something that worked for me in the past isn't necessarily what I need right now, depending on my circumstances, my stress levels, my environment. And so I've learned to let go of that. Like, why doesn't this work for me now? To more of a, okay, cool. Like, this is what I'm going through. This is what I need to do. Maybe I need to try something different. Maybe I need to do a bit of cyclic feeding and go in and out and fast and then refeed, and and so it's just about building that and utilizing fasting for the incredible adaptable, flexible thing that it is, and finding what works for you.
Love it. Yeah. And that's what I found is, in my experience, I've done both, right? I've done scheduled and intuitive, and I continue to, just as my body needs, right? And so I think that's what happens over time as you get more and more used to this. And so what are some final words of inspiration that you can give our listeners?
I would say you don't know how good you can feel until you can feel it. And so if you're watching this right now, then there's a reason as to why you're watching. And so trust that, like trust this process, because, we get so comfortable feeling like we've got gut issues and knee pains and, we wake up with a slight headache every day, and that's just the norm now. Like, that's just what we do because that's life and we're getting older. No, like you don't know how good you can feel until you can feel it. And so have like faith in that. And I want to be your reason for hope right now, that there is so much more on the other side, and all you need to do is to trust this process. If you haven't experienced fasting before, or even if you have and you're listening to this right now, then perhaps it's the tool that you need, or the catalyst that you need, like it was in my own life, to lead you to that next thing, to give you your purpose in life, to give you that space to allow something else to come through, be it a mindfulness journey or something different. But I think you don't know how good you can feel until you can feel it. And so keep going and don't settle, because there's so much life on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. And Sam, this has been a great interview. I've absolutely loved your enthusiasm, your passion, just your take on self-love, your commitment to the people in your community group, and just what you represent while you're, on this planet. So thanks so much for sharing. And for all the listeners out there, what I want to leave you with is this idea that fasting can truly unlock the dormant healing potential within you. It's safe, it's powerful, and it can truly change your life. And so give it a shot. We'll see you in a future interview. Be blessed.